From the moment I stepped into the St. Regis Hotel's private dining hall, I felt the familiar tightness in my chest, the kind that always came whenever Evelyn Montgomery hosted anything. The room glittered with crystal chandeliers so bright. They almost looked unreal, like stars trapped in glass. And right beneath that glow sat Evelyn herself, shining just as loudly with her oversized diamonds and her sharp, calculating smile. Anyone watching her would think she owned not just the room, but the whole world. For the past 15 years, I had watched her command these events with the stiff perfection of a general leading a parade. Every plate placement, every flower petal, every seating arrangement, nothing happened without her approval. It wasn't just brunch to Evelyn Montgomery. It was her yearly reminder that the Montgomery name sat above everyone else. And she wanted the world to remember that. I gently adjusted the matching spring dresses I had altered for my twin daughters. The soft pastel fabric had once belonged to their older cousins, but I had stitched the hems and added little ribbons to make them feel new. Sophie and Lily were only 8, yet far too young to understand the complicated ways adults show cruelty. But they were smart, and they noticed everything, especially the difference between their simple dresses and their cousins' expensive designer outfits. "Remember, girls," I whispered, brushing their hair back as they stood in front of me. "We hold our heads high no matter what happens today." "Yes, Mama," they said together, their small voices soft, their chins lifting like I taught them. But I noticed Sophie nervously twist the hem of her dress, her fingers trembling. Lily's hands were pressed tightly together, a little shield against the world. Across the room, my soon-to-be ex-husband, William, sat at the main table, pretending I didn't exist. His new girlfriend, Candace, leaned against his arm as though she belonged there, her manicured fingers flashing a ring I recognized instantly. The sight of it stung sharper than I expected. William's grandmother had promised that ring to me, not to the woman he had replaced me with before our divorce was even final. And that same grandmother, the one who had died only 3 months earlier, left behind a letter that had cracked open every secret the Montgomery family tried to hide. "Places, everyone!" Evelyn's voice sliced across the room with the same crispness as her pearls and posture. "We'll be seated by family groups? Of course. Of course she would do that." There was nothing Evelyn loved more than arranging people into neat little boxes that showed exactly who she considered important and who she didn't. I watched her guide her biological grandchildren to the main table as if they were royalty, being crowned. Their parents glowed with pride, enjoying the privilege as though it was earned rather than handed to them by birth. Then Evelyn's eyes shifted to my daughters. Her gaze cooled instantly, hardening into something close to disgust. She clapped sharply. A waiter hurried over carrying a small side table. "We've prepared special seating," she announced, her smile smooth but cruel. My daughters moved closer to me, their small shoulders pressing into my sides as we approached the table. That's when I saw them 2 metal dog bowls sitting at the place settings, the kind you buy at a pet store. The kind meant for animals. My stomach twisted. "Mother," William finally spoke, a flicker of guilt appearing on his face, but Evelyn dismissed him with a slight wave. "Oh, William, please. Children from certain backgrounds need to learn their place. We wouldn't want them damaging the hotel's fine china." Her voice dripped with false sweetness, her smile thin and poisonous. Sophie's lip trembled. Lily's cheeks flushed deep red. Guests shifted, uncomfortable, glancing around but saying nothing. No one dared challenge a Montgomery. Their family controlled too many businesses, too many opportunities, too many futures. "Mrs. Montgomery," I said softly, one hand drifting toward the court documents inside my handbag. "Perhaps you should reconsider." Evelyn laughed, one of those brittle, high society laughs that never reached her eyes. "Oh, Sarah, still trying to crawl above your station, I see. This is exactly why William came to his senses. Some people simply don't understand their proper place in society." Proper place. Those 2 words lit something inside me. 15 years of swallowed anger, ignored insults, and forced politeness rising like fire. "Your son's proper place," I said, my voice steady, "seems to be with his other family in Ohio." Evelyn froze, her champagne glass stopping midair. William's face drained of color. The room went silent. I don't know what you're talking about, Evelyn snapped, but her hand shook. No, I asked calmly. Then maybe we should talk about it. Along with the judge's recent findings regarding William's creative approach to marriage and family responsibilities. I opened my handbag. The panic spreading across their faces was almost visible. This is hardly the time or place. William stood, knocking Candace's hand away. Really? I smiled. I thought this brunch was about family. I pulled out the first document. Speaking of family, would anyone like to meet Madison and Mason Montgomery, age 6? They live in Columbus with their mother. William has been supporting them quite generously, with money from his grandmother's trust. The room erupted in whispers. Evelyn's perfect event began shattering like thin ice. You're making a scene, she hissed, reaching for the papers. Oh, I'm just getting started. I turned toward the guests. Perhaps you'd like to hear why William's grandmother changed her will 3 months ago. Why she left everything in trust for my daughters rather than her beloved grandson. Mother, William begged, do something. But this time, Evelyn had no words. Her eyes flicked to the dog bowls she had proudly set out. Her world was breaking apart in front of her. You see, I continued, letting my voice ring clearly. Margaret Montgomery was many things, but she wasn't blind. When she learned about William's second life, she started investigating. She discovered the money he stole from her trust fund to support his other family, and she wrote me a letter. I pulled out the letter, edges soft from how many times I had read it. Shall I share what she said about true family values, Evelyn? About how disappointed she was in both of you? You have no right, Evelyn finally snapped. This is a private family matter. Private? I raised an eyebrow, like making my daughters eat from dog bowls. Like telling their school they were charity kids while you were actually stealing their trust fund. I lifted one of the metal bowls gently. Shall we talk about what the judge had to say? William lunged for my bag, but I stepped back. My daughters watched, not frightened now, but strong, standing taller than Evelyn ever imagined. Actually, a new voice said, I'd like to hear what the judge had to say. We turned as Herbert Davies, Margaret's longtime lawyer, entered the room holding a stack of documents, especially the part about criminal fraud and embezzlement. William paled. Herb, you don't understand? Oh, I understand very well, Herbert replied. Just as I understood when Margaret asked me to investigate your suspicious withdrawals. Perhaps you'd like to explain how you've been supporting 2 separate families. Or shall I show everyone here the proof? Evelyn staggered slightly, her perfect posture bending for the first time. Her flawless Easter brunch was falling apart piece by piece, but I wasn't done. I pulled out the custody order. Those papers are a lie. William shouted, reaching for them. But Herbert stepped protectively between us, clearly no stranger to Montgomery drama. The only lies here, Herbert said calmly, are the ones you've been telling. Would you like me to list them? Starting with the forged signatures you used to empty your grandmother's trust? Sophie squeezed Lily's hand. I saw something new in their eyes, confidence, strength. They were not the timid children Evelyn wanted to embarrass. They were the true heirs to Margaret Montgomery's legacy. Mommy, Lily said, voice clear. Is that why Daddy never had money for our school trips, but bought a boat last month? The guests gasped. Candace slowly slid her hand off William's arm, staring at the ring she no longer felt entitled to. The boat, Herbert confirmed, flipping through papers, was purchased using funds withdrawn from the girls' education trust, along with the condo in Columbus, the luxury car, and several gifts for his other family. You don't understand, William cried to the room. Sarah trapped me. These children were born 3 years after our marriage. I cut him off. Yes, about the same time you began your second family in Ohio. Tell me, William, how exactly does someone get trapped into running 2 households? This is ridiculous, Evelyn snapped. William would never what, Mother? I turned toward her. Never lie? Never cheat? Never steal from his own daughters? Because the bank statements and the judge say otherwise.
I...
Unfolded the custody order. In light of William Montgomery's fraudulent activity and breach of fiduciary duty, full custody of Sophie and Lily Montgomery is awarded to their mother, Sarah Bennett. Furthermore, all assets from the Margaret Montgomery Trust are to be frozen pending criminal investigation. Criminal investigation, Candace whispered. Oh yes, Herbert replied. Margaret made sure of it. She hired investigators, gathered evidence, and arranged everything. She just didn't live long enough to see justice delivered. William slumped into his chair, defeated. She was just a bitter old woman, he muttered. But no one listened. A bitter old woman who caught you stealing from your own daughters, I said sharply. Who watched you spoil your secret family while mine wore hand-me-downs. Who finally saw through your lies. Evelyn made one last desperate attempt. None of you will ever work in this town again. I'll make sure. You'll make sure of nothing, Mrs. Montgomery, Herbert interrupted. Your social influence died with your fraud scheme. The Country Club Board meets tomorrow to discuss your membership. Apparently, they have strict rules for members involved in criminal investigations. The room erupted in whispers again. Evelyn's precious social status, built in decades of manipulation and pretense, was evaporating before her eyes. Girls, I turned to my daughters. Would you like to know what your great-grandmother about you in her final letter? They nodded, moving closer to me as E pulled out Margaret's letter. My dearest great-granddaughters, I read. I've watched you grow with grace despite the cruelty you've endured. You've shown more dignity eating from paper plates than your fathers. Family has shown withal their fine china. You are the true Montgomery, not because of your name, but because of your character. Tears rolled down Sophie's cheeks, but she was smiling. Lily stood straighter, her chin lifted in a gesture that would have made Margaret proud. She left everything to them, Herbert announced to the room. Every asset, every property, every share of the family business to be held in trust until they're 25. Managed by Sarah, and overseen by my firm. This is ridiculous, William exploded. They're children, they can't run a business. No, I agreed. But I can with the help of board members your grandmother appointed before she died. The same board members who've been gathering evidence of your embezzlement formants. Candace stood up suddenly, dropping her napkin on the table.
I think I left.
Something in my car, she mumbled, hurrying toward the door. Thurring she'd been so proud to show off was conspicuously absent from her finger, left next to her untouched champagne glass. As for these, I picked up the dog bowls Evelyn had set out.
I
think Feshelter down the street could put them to better use. After all, even dogs deserve more respect than you've shown your granddaughters. The metal bowls made a satisfying clang as I dropped them into a nearby trash bin. Several guests stood up and began gathering their things, the Easter brunch thoroughly overshadowed by the unfolding draw. You can't do this to us, Evelyn whispered, but her voice had lost all its authority. We're a monkery. No, Mother, William said quietly, finally facing the truth. We're frauds, and now everyone knows it. As people filed out of the drawing room, my daughters stood tall beside me. Their matching dresses no longer a source of shame, but a symbol of their unity. They were survivors just like their great-grandmother had been. Mommy, Sophie tugged at my sleeve. Can we go home now? Yes, sweetheart. Let's go home. 6 months after the Easter brunch that exposed the Montgomery family secrets, I sat in Margaret's old office, now my office, reviewing the quarterly reports. The family business was thriving under new management, free from Williamson Besant and Evelyn's social machinations. A knock at the door. Madam, look up. Sophie and Lily bounded in, their school uniforms now from the same prestigious academy their cousin Satin did, but their hearts unchanged by the wealth they'd inherited. Mom, look what we did. Lily held up a newspaper. There on the front page of the local section was a photo of my daughter's opening of the Margaret Montgomery Foundation for Educational Equality, Montgomery Hare's launch scholarship program.
I
read aloud, pride swelling in me chest. The girls had insisted onusing part of their trust fund to help other children access better education. Great-grandma would have liked this, right? Sophie asked, perching on the edge of my desk. She would have loved it, I assured her. Ange would have been so proud of both of you. The foundation was our answer to years of exclusion and shame. Instead of using their newfound status to seek revenge, my daughters had chosen to help others rise above similar circumstances. Text message buzzed on my phone. William's monthly custody request write-in schedule. After his arrest for fraud in the divorce settlement, he'd fled to Ohio with Candace, trying to salvage what he could of his other family. Even they had left him once the money dried up. Miss Bennett, my assistant, poked her head in. Mrs. Montgomery is here for her scheduled visit. Evelyn entered the office tentatively, a shadow off her former imperious self. Weekly therapy sessions and community service hours had been part of her plea deal. The designer suits were gone, replaced by off-the-rack clothes that somehow made her look more human. Girls, she said softly, holding 2 small gift bags. I brought you something. My daughters approached their grandmother cautiously. Inside each bag was a delicate china teacup, clearly antique. These were your great-grandmother's, Evelyn explained. She used them every afternoon for her tea. I should have given them to you long ago. Thank you, grandmother. The girls tourist, handling the cups with care. Would you like to have tea with us? Lily offered, surprising us all. We were just going to tell Mom about our foundation's first scholarship recipients. Something flickered across Evelyn's face. Regret perhaps, or recognition of what she'd almost lost forever. I would like very much. As my assistant brought in Adia. Service on proper china plates for Averon. I watched 3 generations of Montgomery women begin to heal. The cups that had once been symbols of exclusion became bridges across years of hurt. The first scholarship went to twins, Sophie told her grandmother excitedly. Their mom is a teacher like Mom used Tobe. Evelyn's hands trembled slightly as lifted her cup. Your mother, she said carefully, has proven to be theftinest Montgomery of all. I'm sorry. It took me so long to see that. The afternoon sun streamed through Theophis windows, catching the delicatessen and making it glow. Outside, the company William had nearly thrived under new leadership. The social circles that had once churned us now praised the Montgomery sisters' philanthropic work. But more importantly, my daughters had learned the most valuable lesson of all. True worth isn't measured by the vessels we eat from, but by the grace with which we treat others. Mom, Lay said suddenly, can we use great-grandma's cups for our foundation scholarship ceremony to show that fancy things are meant Tobe shared? I looked at Evelyn, seeing tears in her eyes as she nodded. Margaret would have wanted that, she whispered. As we sat there drinking tea from generations-old cups, I thought about the document that had started it all. The custody order still safely stored in my desk. It had given us legal victory, but our real triumph was in rising above bitterness to create something meaningful. The dog bulls that had once symbolized our humiliation were long gone. Donated to an animal shelter, in their place we built a legacy of inclusion and opportunity. One a scholarship, one teacup, one healing mint at a time. Sometimes the sweet revenge isn't revenge at all. It's showing others a better way forward, even when they show me their worst. As I watched my daughters share their dreams with their grandmother, I knew Margaret would have been proud of the family her truth had finally created.